I think that's coming from Benny's.
Okay, it's going. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 275 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 live podcast in Canada. We're recording on December 14th, 2020. Joining me tonight is Benny, Brian, Gavin, and Ian. As always, my name is Andrew, and I'll be your host.
And we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Earl, if you're listening, we'd love to have another audio tape from you. Feel free to tell us how upset you are that we missed the opportunity on show 270 to talk about that wonderful caliber and all of its hunting applications. Version of the show is available at Stitcher and iTunes.
We need your help to support Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist, buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to my favorite segment. That's called What Are We Drinking? It's where I ask everybody on the show what they're drinking. And I also want to congratulate our YouTube audience for pushing us over a magic number. We had 666 subscribers until this week. Now we have 668. So I don't know, numerology and stuff.
Does that no longer make us Stephen Harper?
I guess. All right, let's go around the panel, find out what everybody's drinking tonight. I'm going to start with Gavin. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking my favorite concoction that triggers Andrew, the Jack Daniels and cherry Kool-Aid.
I'm not triggered. I'm just worried about your eternal soul.
After being on this show for this many episodes, I don't think I have one if I ever did.
What? Didn't they make them drink the Kool-Aid at one of those cults when they went like home?
Yeah, Jonestown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about you, buddy. That's
Gavin's all in on the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. It's red Kool-Aid, so
right?
It's for all those red. It's all those red pills.
I think the only person to survive that camp was Alex, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's what gave him superpowers.
Yeah. He actually wears the tinfoil hat to keep the superpowers in check. If he takes that off, they just like...
He'd go plaid, basically, at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like an X-Man comic.
Yeah.
Brian, what are you drinking?
Drinking Coors Original tonight.
It's like a less good version of Banquet. Okay. Benny, what are you drinking?
Sunripe and Bacardi. Trying some rum and veggie drink.
That sounds super weird. All right, Ian, what are you drinking?
I feel so boring again. Just cold black tea.
Like your heart.
You got Uber Daddy duties.
I do.
Yeah.
Because you can't choose your father, but you can choose your Uber Daddy.
That's correct.
Just make sure to give him a 5-star review.
And not one tip once.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Of course not.
I'm very festive this evening as we are in the Yuletide times. I have Gingerbread Pale Ale from Shakespeare Brewing.
Oh, wow. That sounds mighty interesting. Kind of sounds like toothpaste beer.
No, I think that was the one that he had the other day. That was the candy cane one. That would have been more like toothpaste.
That candy cane stout was so good.
Oh, jeez. Andrew.
Let's remind everybody about the Patriot Challenge. When you're not drinking festive holiday beer, you should be doing 5 things every day to improve your life. Exercise for 45 minutes. Practice a skill for 10 minutes. Read a book for 15 minutes. Drink 2 liters of water and complete 1 task that will improve your life. So I'm imposing a little bit over an hour in your day. Get the social media template from our website, CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. post it, share it with your friends. You can't tag the show because social media kicked us off. Do some news. Going to start with an article from CTV. Liberals want weekend voting, mail-in ballot changes to be ready for possible pandemic election. Everybody probably remember a couple of month ago, we were starting to talk about no confidence votes in the government. And the head of Elections Canada said that they were ready to hold an election in case we had a snap election. Talked about that a couple of a month ago.
Yeah.
The government said he lied, basically. I'm editorializing. I'm taking a lot of liberty with that. But the Liberals are ramming a bill through, where they want to have in-person ballots cast over 3 additional days in addition to the normal Monday voting. 3 additional days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to allow people to have various religious observances. And then the normal voting on Monday. Further advanced polling for certain special demographics, old age homes and nursing homes and that sort of thing. They're going to have some sort of a scheme to allow poll workers to work in them in short periods of time with visits to less nursing homes so that they're not, I guess, cross-contaminating them. Somehow they're going to set up various safety procedures so that specific floors or hotspots can be avoided in those nursing homes. I really have no idea how Elections Canada plans to do that.
Well,
We're
Yeah,
also
well-
going to be able to do significantly more mail-in voting than we were before. Everyone could mail-in vote. They want to have the capacity to have 5 million mail-in voters if we have this election.
That went so well for our neighbors to the south.
I was just about to say, if the
Yeah.
U.S. election
Yeah.
can teach us anything, it should go swimmingly.
Whether or not there
Wow.
was anything wrong with it, there was a lot of accusations and problems. And I remember a lot of people sitting on Canadian high horse saying, "Oh, we don't have elections like that. We don't have anything to worry about." And I'm pretty sure that
Looks like it's going that way now.
there hasn't been any. I haven't heard anyone saying that they've caught the Rona because of going to a polling station. So
Mhm.
if you
Well, I mean,
No, but it
You probably
definitely
studied-
seems a little odd that they're trying to push a bill C-19 through quickly like this and try to mirror the election that we just witnessed down south.
well, I mean,
I'm-
to be fair, they haven't had to rig an election up here because the general population of Canada is just too stupid and will vote for Trudeau anyways.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. I don't think they really had to worry about it because, I mean, I don't know if I really believe in the polling things you see on TV or online, but everything I've seen up to this point always has the Liberals ahead,
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So it's like it doesn't
sample
really
size of
seem,
1, Justin Trudeau, Liberals will win.
Yeah. Well, and that was the question I was actually going
Right.
to bring up to you guys during this discussion was, if there was a snap election, do you actually believe that we could win? And I mean by we, the only party that we have to vote for obviously is the Conservative Party. And would they have any chance to win right now? And I mean, I know I'm going to vote for them, and I don't mind saying that. But with Serb and everything that has happened, I really don't think that they can win, to be honest with you, because
Well,
I know
guess
just
it-
from having like discussions with fellow employees on their lunch breaks and stuff like that, the only thing they seem to care about is that Serb, and nobody wants to talk about what it's doing to the economy, right? Everybody's just willing to keep accepting these handouts. So I don't know, guys. It seems pretty bleak. Because I bet you what's going to happen is he is going to call a snap election, and he'll probably win.
Well, based on what happened in the last little go around with the vote of no confidence, it seems that all of the parties are in agreement that whoever is responsible for triggering an election during this pandemic is going to be looked upon unfavorably.
Not if they spin it in a way where it's like,
So,
we're going to save you through COVID, so you got to keep us in power.
well, but they don't want to trigger the election, right? So the Liberals will want to keep spending the money that they're spending recklessly. They don't want to trigger the election. So, I mean, the only way that I think that we have a better shot currently, because of all of the vote buying going on with this, and like the NDP have just come out and said that, they don't want anyone to have to pay back CERB, which I think will be used, to trigger another next time there's a potential vote of no confidence. The NDP will back the Liberals, and instead of sick days this time, it'll be you don't have to pay back CERB, or it'll be UBI or something like that. And they'll gang up together. So, I mean, the only way to do that is somehow to get the Liberals to be the ones to call it and have it be looked upon unfavorably, because that's what everyone seems to agree right now, at least, that whoever triggers the election is the bad guy. That's my assessment.
For sure. But my point is, it's like, no matter, like, I love this guy, but I think a gentleman like Pierre Poilievre, he's like, he's too, when you see somebody like that, like the average person's like, oh my God, this guy is going to make everybody go to work. Right. And I mean, I'm not scared of that. I work my ass off every day, and that's what I think we should be doing. But I think people are starting to get kind of used to this, getting free money from the government and having an opposition that's like, no, we got to cut that off. That scares the crap out of people. They're like, oh my God, I got to go back to work.
Man, I wish I got some free money.
Yeah. I mean, if I'd known for sure that they weren't going to like have to pay this back, I would totally have applied. I would have had nods. I would have had a new gun.
I don't think like you have to repay the CERB. I don't think you actually have to repay it.
You're supposed to.
I don't think you have to repay every dollar that you get from it. I'm pretty sure all you have to do is just declare it as your income, because that's the money that you would have lost because of COVID. So
well, I think that'll be the thing is that they'll end up with
people are
getting
looking
to
at
keep
it that
as
way.
part of your income tax. I think that'll be the thing is that they'll change the income tax rules so that you get to keep the majority of that money. Most people that received it will be able to keep the majority of it. I mean, I don't think that'll be true in every case, but the majority of people in the majority of cases.
Yeah, the people that like truly needed it.
Yeah.
The people that had to stop working and that actually deserve to have it. I don't think those people should have to pay it back.
No, I think that's fair, but I also think that that's going to be an election promise, and it'll be a pivot to universal basic income. Well, we did this, and it was super effective, and look at how we saved the economy, and we're only $1.2 trillion in debt now.
Yeah, I mean,
I know, but we didn't save the economy though, Andrew. Like, clearly,
I know that'll be the soundbite.
Clearly, I know, but I mean, it's
your average voter.
Are people really that dumb? They really think that it's just
your average voter in Toronto probably couldn't care less or doesn't understand and couldn't care why it's so bad that our government is in so much debt. So what if
I don't think Toronto is necessarily the problem. I think it runs across the whole country. You can find
but it's fun.
I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah, your average 20-year-old that couldn't figure out that like going to school for basket weaving and getting into debt was a terrible idea. It doesn't understand how the economy works as a whole. Yeah. So they don't give a shit about the economy.
Hey, don't count out those.
They want the
unions.
free stuff.
Don't count out those union guys. They want a liberal government as much as the next guy. Yeah. You know they're hardworking blue collar guys.
So I mean, I think if for a right leaning government to win,
about, I guess.
UA, Local 46.
Most of them, yeah.
Okay, what about
the oil workers out west?
Well, out west, it's all blue, and it doesn't make a difference how much they vote conservative.
Well,
if Ontario votes red, then Canada's red. So,
yeah, I guess because we have the population, but maybe that's something we should start looking at changing. Is like based on demographics. Like it's not fair because our population is so dense here in Southern Ontario that we basically decide the election.
Yeah.
Well,
where like clearly the rest of the country is saying one thing.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I guess getting back to where this whole thing started. Like some of that stuff, I don't have an issue with it. Like I don't mind extending the voting period slightly. I mean, that makes no difference to me. If anything, that gets more people the ability to get out and vote. I mean, there's tons of time to vote anyways. Like with all
I would be very in favor of extending the voting period. My concern is the mail-in portion of it and the shenanigans that are going to ensue around the mail-in portion.
It's the mail-in
with that,
part
Andrew,
is the...
though, there was something I was thinking though. Okay, so Benny brought this up earlier, and I think we all kind of jumped on it. We had the same thought process is that, we witnessed this happen down south. But like the fact that we witnessed this, wouldn't that actually make a lot of us jump on board the mail-in, and it might actually backfire?
Well,
You know
I mean,
whereas like Trump told everybody not to do it, and apparently that kind of backfired on him.
Well,
That was the difference in the
Concern
election.
is more around the delivery of the ballots than whether or not the populist politicians want to use the system or not, or encourage or discourage the electorate from using it. My concern is around like, we have to have this deadline, but also there's this other deadline. So if you get it in by this date, it doesn't really count because there's also this extension that if it gets to Ottawa by the Tuesday at midnight, then it's okay. But that wasn't the original deadline.
The thing. Like,
so
if you're going to
just set a
have
deadline,
if you're going to have
You think it would
mail-in
actually be like
ballots,
that too? I didn't think they'd pull in all that kind of.
no, that's what's in this bill. That's the problem with this bill is I don't like how they're doing the deadlines for the mail-in balloting, because you can drop your mail-in ballot off, or you can mail it in. And if you mail it in, there are different rules depending on how it gets mailed in on when the actual deadline is, because there's a delivery deadline to Ottawa that's days, the day after the election. And we saw how that worked out in a number of U.S. jurisdictions during their recent presidential election, where 2 days, 3 days later, states were declaring that they still haven't counted all of their mailed-in ballots because of when the counting process starts.
That's the problem.
I guess when you put it that way, then no.
Also, you start getting
I'd rather
into
just
the
walk
whole
to the school and sign a piece of paper like I always have.
Well, and you start getting into the whole security thing as well, because like if somebody dies, they can't physically go in and vote, but if they die, you can still take photos or photocopies of their ID and mail in a ballot, and like you start getting higher instances of voter fraud and things like that.
Well, and the mail-in balloting has another instance of voter fraud in the bill that worries me. If you get, if you register to do a mail-in vote, you can still go and vote in person. You either need to surrender your unmarked ballot or provide an attestation that you no longer have your unmarked ballot.
Right.
Well, what's to prevent you from attesting, like basically sending it in and then attesting that you didn't? Like there's no balance against that. There's no check to keep you from like mailing one in and then going and voting. Yeah, okay. So it's one person doubling a vote, and how many people are going to do that? But like the point is, there's no way to prevent people from fraudulently doing that.
Well,
that's a good
people cheat on their taxes every year?
All of them.
I don't. I never have once in my life, Manny.
No, I'm not. I'm not accusing anyone.
What kind of citizen would do something like that?
But
I mean, I pay my accountant to make sure we take advantage of every tax.
Yeah, I don't cheat on my taxes.
Gavin, that's not cheat. No, sorry, Gavin. Andrew, that's not cheating on your taxes. That's using the existing rules in your favor. How many people? How many prisoners do we have in Canada? How many people do we have incarcerated in Canada?
Yeah, too many.
I have no idea.
What percentage of that is our population? It can't be,
I have no idea.
Not a
you have
tiny
to tell
number.
me.
Point is, you can't.
Do you have an idea, Benny? I have no clue.
My point is, you can't hope that people are going to follow the rules.
No,
you have to put something in place to catch anything.
And I mean, you already
I think you have to think that people are not going to follow the rules.
Well, exactly. But you
already
have.
Nature, isn't it?
I don't mind giving people the benefit of the doubt.
I do. People continue to disappoint me time and time again.
I still lock my doors at night.
Give them an inch and they take a mile, right? Isn't that
the
that's
problem
my concern with these rules.
Is the left already votes strategically because there's only really one right-leaning option that has a chance of winning at the moment, and multiple flavors of left-leaning parties. So they will pick the one that is going to beat the conservative. And so there are people on the left that obviously don't give a shit about following the law, and will take advantage of the ability to vote twice just to make sure that they unseat the conservative in a particular riding that they live in, if they happen to live in a conservative riding or one of those ones that's borderline. I don't doubt that that will happen at all. I'm sure there will be some right-leaning people that would try to take advantage of this as well. But given the track record of the people on the left,
I don't think so, because we're the honest ones. I mean,
people are shitty. People are shitty.
I know
on
the firearms owners out there would not.
But just
I know,
given the track record,
because I don't want to bastardize our democracy.
yeah,
But-
given the track record of the left, I have no doubt that they would do something like this. Because if they had, you know, a conservative candidate that they viewed as like Canadian Orange Man, they would absolutely do this without hesitating.
Well, like Dougie, or yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't count anymore because they all love him because he's given away the money now. He was one of us, not anymore.
That's his bum stocks.
But didn't he come out recently and stand against the carbon tax?
Whatever. Ford's dead to me.
That means nothing. Gavin,
our
I guess
guy.
I'm still trying. I guess I'm still trying to find straws to grasp, because I had high hopes. I had high hopes for Doug, and I have to agree with you.
I did too.
He let me down. He's let me down big time.
Too many
But,
black
like,
pills.
So, he has stood up against the municipal handgun ban, though. Like, has he not, or is that something?
He said that he will, but he hasn't actually taken any steps towards doing anything about it.
Not like Alberta.
Yeah.
He did make fun of Trudeau the other day, which was nice. The Friday of last week, the Liberals announced a new carbon pricing scheme, and both Premiers Kenny, Alberta, and Ford, Ontario, have made comments against that. Which it is nice to see Ford saying that this is a scam. I don't think he actually called it a scam. He called it something. He said it was the worst thing that you could ever see. So he didn't quite call it a scam, but like it's pretty up there.
Yeah.
Pretty up there.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I know. For me, as a guy that works in the trades, and right now I'm actually working in a city that's quite far. Well, I mean, for me anyway, traveling about an hour a day. A carbon tax like that is really going to affect me, because it costs. I have a 4-cylinder 4x4, and it costs me about $60 to $70 right now, based on what the gas prices are. And if they're going up to the prices that they're talking, that's going to be a problem.
Well, I think it'll be a problem for a lot of people, but don't worry. The shiniest of ponies says that you're going to probably get back more than you put in through their new quarterly payment scheme.
Oh,
You know,
really?
that word probably just imbues me with so much confidence in our government. We're probably like,
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's what.
I'll probably win a lot.
I don't know if this whole carbon tax was a person, it would most definitely be a Nigerian prince. That's all I'm saying.
Well, didn't Trudeau say that? It was something, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact words from the press conference, but it was something to the effect of most Canadians are going to get back more in quarterly payments from the carbon tax than what the increase is going to cost them.
If that's the case, why are we paying it in? Why don't we just keep the money to begin with?
Because it's a scam.
I know, but like anytime that someone comes up with a system where you have to pay in and you're going to get more back, how about I just keep whatever the thing is, and then you just pay me the difference. Like if I have to pay $1,000 to get 1,200 back, just give me the 200. We'll call it even.
No, that's not how that works, because how would they have multiple middlemen and party apparatchiks and favors being given to other people?
Yeah.
So they're talking about the carbon tax was supposed to be halted in next year in 2022 at $50 a ton. And the Liberals have now announced that it will be increasing $15 annually for 8 years. So it'll be $170 a ton in 2030.
Yeah.
And I went back and I'm like, I seem to remember Climate Change Barbie saying something about like they would never do such a thing. So I went, I did some research. And in
Probably
June
also
of
said
2000,
she'd never eat dog or attend an underage wedding or anything.
well, she does say if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth.
Yeah.
I think is a quote that is commonly misattributed to Goebbels, but in this case is actually something that Catherine McKenna said on a hot mic.
I mean, maybe
funny
she
how
was
she's not
paraphrasing his quote. I mean,
Okay, so
Yeah.
Going back to our first topic, if we were able to win, do you think the Conservatives would
No.
go back on this?
I don't even need the rest of the question. No.
No.
The
They're gonna
Conservatives
keep
will never vote in
pushing-
their own interest. The Conservatives will
No,
do
I mean-
whatever they need to do to vote to prove that they're not racist or bigoted or whatever. They're going
So
to
they would keep the carbon tax.
it may not increase, but it won't go away.
They won't get rid of it. Absolutely. When have the Conservatives ever gotten rid of anything?
So what? So like their promises, like to get in power and improve our oil and gas infrastructure. You think that's all like bullshit?
I'd have to know more about what the promise is because they haven't had the party convention. The news just came out today, I think, that the party convention is going to be all digital this year, so they don't currently have any policy. I mean, I guess they have the last round of policy, but they don't have current party policy for whatever the next election will be.
I know that you guys obviously know who Michelle Rempol is.
Yeah, she's got an American husband. Mostly
she's clearly in there.
She gets in trouble for wearing a white dress.
Oil and gas. So
I'm conservatives are for
the
business, but the problem is that they also need to stay elected. So if they go, like, there's a lot of like middle of the road on the fence voters, and if they go and do something that is seen as unfavorable, they will lose support. So while they may not they may put a halt to the increase, they won't remove it, because if they remove it, then they get seen as not giving a shit about the environment, and then all of a sudden that's negative, and people will not want to vote for them in the next go around, and they want to stay in power like every other politician.
But like, how can they not spin it as like Canada is
they can't.
The leader of clean energy? Like we extract oil the cleanest. Apparently, our technology is the best to do it. So
general population is dumb. They don't care.
I know, but like we have to teach them. Like, why wouldn't we, as Canadians, create jobs, take the oil out as cleanly as anybody else does in the world, and try to lead the world into the green initiatives, but not by cutting it off now and getting rid of all these jobs and these opportunities, and especially with COVID and our economy, how shitty it is. Wouldn't it be smart to just jump on it and like take all the oil that we can take, Brian, right now out of the West?
If you talk to any of these voters and you met them and they got to know you, and then they were in a financial struggle and they asked you for advice, they take your advice. But as soon as you start telling them what the government should do or what a policy that would be positive for them, if it goes against what they thought before they spoke to you, they won't believe you anymore. They won't trust you. They won't have anything to say. You could give them the best advice in the world. You can show them how listening to you will help them. But if you're telling them that voting against the Liberals, against what they've been told and fed their entire life is the way they're supposed to do and what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to vote, they won't trust you and believe you. They're not interested in what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, David Suzuki has taught them that the environment is good and that oil is bad, and that is all that they care about, right? They can't.
Don't bring up the David Suzuki, okay?
But that's the problem.
That guy. He's a Canadian treasure,
and that's the problem.
He's
everybody
Canadian.
does,
and that's why we should modify him and put him in a museum.
And I'm not saying that he's not right about certain things, but that's the problem, though, is that you've got people that are in these positions and have some sort of celebrity nature to them. And
I know, but my whole point is, like, we're going to get dirty. We're dirty right now, okay? We're all mucking it up in the oil, okay? And Justin Trudeau wants to act like we're all above that. Bullshit, okay? Bullshit.
Oh, we know it's bullshit because this money that we're paying for carbon offset credits don't do anything.
Just make these pipelines and stuff and give people jobs in the country and, like, make
'Cause
our
that
dollar
doesn't-
stronger on the world scale, and then not only are we doing that, but we're also doing it cleaner than anybody else, and not having tankers
Because
come
that
over on the
doesn't keep
ocean.
But Brian,
And
that
then,
doesn't keep him in
How many
power.
times do
When-
ocean tankers break down and cause pollution and all that bullshit?
But Brian,
That
if you
doesn't keep
join
him
the
in power.
if you join the global government, right, and
Yeah.
everyone's under one government, there is no Canadian dollar. Who cares how the Canadian economy is doing?
Yeah.
Because
If he
we're all
fucks it-
under the United Nations.
Yeah,
Okay,
if he
we
fucks
care
us hard
about
enough,
that.
fucks us hard enough, the economy falls apart, and we need them, and then they can keep giving us the money that we need. So if
Yeah.
he goes and makes the economy too successful, people won't need government, and then they're screwed. Like the left is all about big government. The right is supposed to be about small government, but they're just about increasing the size of government slower.
Like you think back in the day, Aaron O'Toole during the leadership convention was talking about how he's going to make it legal to shoot your handguns in the Crown land anywhere you can shoot a rifle. Do you really think now that he's in charge, he's going to pursue that now? No, because it won't get him any extra votes. And same reason he's actually wishing the Aga Khan a happy birthday this week. Not that he's really a big fan of the Aga Khan, but I think he's trying to steal some of Trudeau's thunder.
Yeah, and he's
So,
happy to
Ian,
point
you
out
think-
when
you
Trudeau
think he would,
goes
like-
there, but
Yeah.
he'll
Ian,
be
you think
taking
if
that
he-
flight too.
If the
That's right.
Conservative Party got like majority government somehow by a stroke of like a miracle, you think he'd completely renege on that promise? He wouldn't do any of that.
He's a
I don't know that he
politician,
would
right?
renege on it, but I don't imagine that it's going to be a priority.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question right now? And please, you
No.
can completely shit all over my dreams, or you can try to sugarcoat it a little bit for me. Is there ever going to be a day we might actually be able to hunt with our pistols in this country?
There was a day that we could do that, and it was not
No,
that long ago.
I didn't say it was. In the future.
It was not that long ago. The problem is, it's not the Firearms Act for Ontario. The problem is the hunting regulations in Ontario, because you were, up until recently, legally allowed to hunt with antique revolvers. But now they've changed that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like getting a 10mm pistol and shooting a deer.
Never.
Not without a great reset.
Yeah, but an actual,
You were listening last night, weren't you?
but an actual great reset, not the UN's kind of great
Yeah,
reset.
an actual like legit reset.
Yeah,
More like
And
Mad
that's
Max
to- To Brian's point, in this country, can we do that? No, but maybe it won't be this country any longer.
yeah.
All right, well, I'm done with that.
I mean-
Ian, do you want to take your Bloomberg News one? I don't know if I can read a Bloomberg News article.
Well, can't say I blame you on that one. Okay, so the Ottawa eyes the preloaded stimulus in Canadian savings account. So basically, what it boils down to is Christina Freeland did a little interview on Bloomberg and was talking about ways to save the economy. And I guess
Yes,
the interviewer
save
yeah,
the economy.
save the economy. And so the interviewer touched on, what she thought as, ways to fix things on an expedited level. And Christina Freeland says, hey, I'm glad you asked that. We've actually had our eye on people's savings account, and basically we view them as a preloaded stimulus in order to offset the debt. And basically says there's enough money in people's bank accounts that would actually kind of pay off their outstanding debts right now. So, and her exact words were, we would prefer if it was voluntary, but if need be, we'll just take it.
Is that like when they send you your tax money back?
Yeah.
Like you can accept it, or you could just donate it back to the government.
Yeah. And so that was actually kind of good because, literally Hitler Harper there did actually introduce the bail-in legislation to start with. But I think the Liberals will be the ones to take advantage of it. And they can just, one of these days, just turn you into a creditor and take your savings if they feel that they are insolvent.
Should we
Jokes
start
on them. I don't have any.
Should we start advertising for Birch Gold?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah, that's a good time as any to start talking about like physical currency.
Yeah, I like that the deputy prime minister, or I mean the finance minister, interchangeable titles at this point. But anyway, I enjoy that they're referring to this as $170 billion in excess cash.
That
You
you've
literally-
chosen to not spend
Yeah,
frivolously
You're
and actually
literally
save.
talking about people's like life savings here. But hey, let's just call it excess cash that the government could have access to.
Yeah, access to who? Right? Like,
Well, Well, I guess if you view it like the government does, because you haven't spent it, that's not for next year's budget. You're out of luck, so you're going to lose it. So yeah, that's the way the government works, right? You're supposed to spend everything you have every year.
Yeah, I guess that's how that works. Yeah.
I don't see it in your Bloomberg article, but it seems to me when I was reading about this earlier in the week when Freeland made these comments that they were originally trying to target hundreds of thousands of Canadian households that had something like net worth in the 6+ figures, which I mean is effectively anyone who owns their home.
Yeah, apparently the Bank of Canada, or I may be misspeaking, but apparently some big bank corporation something didn't a report and told the government that within Canadian households and businesses, there's about $170 million that is waiting to be spent.
Billion with a B.
Billion, sorry, you're right. To stimulate the economy, and it's like, I don't know, where do you get off telling them that they're the ones that have to start spending it?
Well, that's how
Maybe you guys
communism
should
rolls.
start-
Is they got to take the money from the bourgeoisie and distribute it amongst the proletariat, and it's equal distribution of assets. So
Maybe
It only
they should
makes
just get people
sense.
back to work. Why not just get everybody back to work?
I feel like
Maybe they
All that I
shouldn't
can see
have
coming out of
stumbled on
this-
getting this vaccine out too. Like,
I feel like
we're
my
going to be the last
policy-
country getting a vaccine and getting
Oh,
back
no.
to normal, if it's ever going to be back to normal.
We're not going to be the last because it's already happening.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the most minimal amount of vaccines are being pushed out right now.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about vaccines in a minute. I want to bash more about the economic outlook for our savings, because I like that all of this is
Canadians in
tied
debt?
up. I mean, on the whole, yeah, the average.
So, like, am I going to be penalized for living a debt-free life?
Yes.
Yes.
I should have
Yes,
gone to
Benny.
college in the States,
You're going to
taking
be
out a bunch
Yes.
of student loans.
you're going to be
Ben,
doubly
just go
penalized
take out
if
some
you
credit cards right now and just run them up.
you're going to be
Well,
doubly
that would-
penalized, Benny, if you've actually managed to put some money away for a rainy day because they're going to take it from you. At least if
Yeah.
you're debt free but you're even, they can't take it from you.
My
And if you-
suspicion with this is that they're actually going to do something like allowing people access to the content of their RRSP. Like I think that's what it's going to be, is that they're, it's not that the government is going to take your savings account. I think the government is actually going to open up vehicles that you would not previously have had access to return to you your money under the auspices of you spending it. I think that's where this is actually going to go, is that they're going to be like, okay, so you have this money in RRSPs or in your pension or some other vehicle, like an investment vehicle, and you're going to be able to take it out as long as you spend it right now.
Does paying off your house count as spending it?
I'm going to go with
And
no.
why
'Cause
would
if
you
I
get
were the
rid of your
government, that would-
debt if they're just
that would
going to take
defeat
away
the-
your savings?
Yeah.
And
opportunity
as
first cost.
as Bane Ironhand mentioned, they did do this, I believe, in Greece, and I remember them talking about doing it early, and people went. I believe there was a rush on the banks, but I could be remembering wrong. This is a while ago.
Yeah, I know when they did the
That's,
austerity
Yeah, what I
crisis.
don't understand
That
is
was
like,
well, that was
people
Cyprus.
haven't got really angry about this. The fact that she's saying those words, she's talking about your bank accounts. I haven't heard anybody give a shit. Well, except the people on this panel, but
Because the vast
just
majority
talking
of
about your bank accounts, Canada.
yeah,
Your
but the vast
money.
majority of
You're
people
talking
don't
about
have
your
anything.
money.
Yeah, they don't have any money in their bank accounts to
Yeah,
be worried
the
about.
vast
so.
majority of Canadians have less than $500 in savings, except for the idea of taking from the rich does appeal to them. So absolutely.
Well,
And
that's
yeah,
what I mean. Like, so
Well-
I support the country that we've created. I don't mind there being rich people. I think if you go out and you work your ass off and you aspire to something, you can be rich. I don't mind you having more than me because you're a better person, maybe, or I don't care. You have more skills. I can live with that, right? That's not a problem. So the fact that somebody like that has to be threatened, like, could you imagine if you're like sitting on top of a bunch of money
Well, the
and your
problem is like,
your finance minister says that?
well,
like,
like
what?
every other country that they've kind of gone down this road, Venezuela, any of those people that have money, the minute that they think this is actually going to affect them and be a threat, they're going to take off. So all of that money is going to be taken out of the country.
I know.
The only people that are going to be
exactly.
left are the people that have that $500 and that's it. And then they're going to lose
Exactly.
that $500.
And then, like, the people that I work for are the people that are leaving that you're talking about, Gavin.
Yeah.
And I'll have nobody to work for because
Yeah.
who's gonna spend
But
money
that's-
on repainting their house every year?
But that's
People with
that's
money.
that's exactly what the liberals want. So like it's win-win for them. So either the rich people stick around and they can take their money, or the rich people take off, people's jobs dry up, and then they become more dependent on the government, need more
Yeah.
government assistance and all of that.
Well, all the
And
more
they'll need
reason
to
why we need to
continue
get rid of those
voting,
people.
continue
Because
voting left.
We need like I personally support. We need a higher echelons of life because that's where you find like the cream of the crop. There's nothing wrong with having people like that in your society. There's nothing wrong with that. You want people to aspire for greatness.
The government likes to think that government creates jobs, but they don't. It's business owners that create
Exactly.
jobs. And if you don't have business owners, there will be no jobs.
Exactly. And then you're charging them ridiculous carbon tax. They're not going to come here.
No. Hope you all have good recipes for zoo animals, because that's where we're headed.
Oh, I do. I got good recipes for squirrels, rakins.
It
I
sounds
want something
classier
more
when you
exotic
call
than
it
a squirrel.
What's that, Andrew?
I want
badger.
something more exotic than squirrel. Like what's an exotic zoo animal? Like elephant?
Flying squirrel.
Yeah, they won't last long
Yeah.
though. They'll like so
Naked
guys, put it
mole
this
rat.
way:
Big.
we're gonna we'll eat good for like the first month, and then all the zoo animals are gonna be gone.
The lemur.
Just
We're
like
gonna have, like,
Venezuela.
Wait
We're
a
gonna have a big
second.
zebra
How are you-
party, maybe
how do you-
elephant, and then it's gonna be squirrels and raccoons after that.
Meerkats? Would that be exotic enough? Possibly a wombat?
When I was young.
yeah. Some monkeys.
I feel like that won't end well.
No. Monkey is too close to people. That's
I'm
like
just
the
gonna find a
last
good
one.
spot where there's a lot of grouse and turkey and venison. That's what I'm gonna do.
Let's assume we don't turn into zombies and we can go and get gross and turkey and venison.
Right
I
after
do
our
want to talk
vaccine
about the.
shots, right?
Well, that's the segue I'm going for.
That's the
Let's-
segue.
I've seen this movie. It's with Will Smith
Sorry,
and
I
his
jumped all
dog.
over
Yeah.
it.
It's about vampires, not zombies, although common misunderstanding is the movie was
Right.
not good. The book is much better, as is generally something I say about books.
That's
Or
why
the
we
Charlton
have.
Heston movie was much better too.
Are we
What
allowed
that-
to call them damn dirty apes?
No, the Omega Man, the original I Am Legend.
Okay.
I was like,
Oh,
is
wow,
that the one
really?
where he
Omega Man is
stands?
I Am
I'm gonna
Legend?
have to watch that.
Okay.
Yeah, like the Omega Man was the original I Am Legend. It's just same
yeah.
book, same everything.
I did not realize that.
Oh, yeah, almost a scene by scene copy.
Maybe
but
we
better.
should do that in a shoot, Andrew. I Am Legend.
All
Do a
right,
scene
everybody
where
gets a
zombies are
vaccine
breaking.
and then we shoot the zombies.
I'm in. And then at the end of it, they can pry that gun from my cold dead hand.
Yeah. No, the last
We're
one will
just
be
doing a
you gotta
Charlton
hold a
Heston
grenade in your
themed
hand.
film.
Yeah.
All right, good. Charlton Heston match. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's just a Charlton Heston match.
cold dead hands.
That's the
Vaccines, though.
catchphrase, yeah.
For,
Yeah.
for actually, we're going to complain
Yeah.
about vaccines. So the government again Friday. I don't know what is something about bad news coming out on Friday. I guess that's like also when we lay people
And
off.
the,
But
the weird thing is
And
like,
it's also when the 13th comes. The worst 13th is on a Friday.
I always used to like ripping on anti-vaxxers, and now here I am, like getting lumped in with them. Weird.
But critical thinking is not being anti-vax.
No, I know, but like it's just weird.
Can I take a quick poll on the panel here? Have we ever
I
taken
suppose.
vaccines in our life? Not the corona, but just a vaccine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have.
I'm not
Voluntarily.
opposed to taking
Died?
vaccines. I'm
That just
opposed
means
to.
that just means we're the FUD, saying I'm pro 2A, but
No, that's not that is a non sequitur argument.
Okay, so
Like
guys,
saying,
the
like,
first thing
I'm opposed to
I'll put
drinking and
this out
driving,
here.
but I don't drink and drive. Okay,
I
so
know, but
Benny's like
okay,
maybe
let
the
me-
exception to that, but
Let me put this out here, Andrew. Then I'll say this: I'm sick and tired of the world in coronavirus. I'm willing to accept this vaccine and take it if we can get back to normal. I don't think
if you want, if when you say
I don't
getting
think
back
there's
to normal, you mean the
microchips in the vaccine. I don't think there's.
If you say normal, you mean like the pre-corona time, like 2018, when you didn't have to wear a mask to go to the grocery store, or you didn't have
Yes.
like plexiglass
Yes.
in your seating
Yes.
in your restaurant. We're
Yes.
never returning to that time.
But if
There's
we
a
take
there's
the-
a
if we
there's a
take the-
companion
if we take
article.
this
There's a
thing,
companion article
gonna
in the
get back to
CBC that
normal,
goes a
no?
lot. No,
No.
there's a companion article in the CBC that says what happens if we take the coronavirus vaccine. Everybody still has to wear a mask. Multiple public health
What?
agency officials are saying because you can still be asymptomatic and still transmit the disease because they don't know how long it's going to take for people to get the vaccine. There is no returning to normal. The vaccine is not for the coronavirus. The vaccine is to separate you from your family and your money. This is how we institute communism in this country. This is how we have the downfall of Western civilization. This is the final nail in the coffin. This is how we have outright communism.
Dr.
What?
Fauci in the States, Dr. Fauci in the States said the exact same thing. After the vaccine, you will still be required to wear a mask and still need to abide by the same rules they've had in place
Oh my
already.
Yeah, so
Fuck.
I guess part of the whole thing is I guess we should talk about how the vaccine isn't really a vaccine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Gavin. I want to hear what Gavin has to say. Enlighten me, please.
Well, I'm not an expert on this by any means,
Per
but
se.
from what I've been reading and everything else, so
Self-proclaimed.
So yes, self-proclaimed asshole, and expert on everything, including
Yes.
vaccines
I shall
And-
hear you, sir.
and being an asshole. So part of the problem is that this is the first vaccine of this particular type. So what the vaccine actually does is it rewrites your DNA.
What?
Well,
But you're just
I
going to
feel like
blindly
Gavin
accept it?
is. I feel like Gavin is maybe simplifying this. This is the first mRNA vaccine that has ever gone into any sort of mass production that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, this is the first mRNA vaccine that's actually made it to human, not consumption. That's not the right word, but like distribution on it to.
Yeah, not
like,
just a trial thing, but like an actual released for.
Boys, you're freaking me out.
Well, you should be freaked out. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. The vaccine is.
Yeah,
The vaccine is to separate you from your money, not to separate you from the disease.
Most vaccines, what they do is they take.
Money. I have like average guy money. What the fuck?
Yeah,
you
but
talking
that's
about?
still money. But most vaccines, what they do is they take a version of the thing that you're trying to get inoculated against and make it effectively harmless and introduce it into your body so that you develop the antibodies to fight the virus or whatever it is that you're trying to do. That's how most vaccines work. This is not that. It is going to rewrite your genetic code so that you do not react to the virus. That's part of the problem is that so you take the vaccine, you still get the virus. You still have the virus, which means
it
that
might
you can
make
still
you asymptomatic. It might make you asymptomatic. So, talking specifically about the Pfizer version of the vaccine, the Moderna version is slightly different. But the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are both mRNA vaccines, which,
German, right?
as far as I'm aware, have never hit mass production for human consumption. Again, consumption is probably not the correct word in this case, but I don't do virology.
But yeah, they've used it for other things, but not on this scale and in this manner.
So I'm not worried about it rewriting the DNA because I don't think that's actually how it works because it's
people have already taken the Pfizer vaccine in the world. There was some 90-year-old British woman that took it, and she was like, "Oh, bollocks! I feel just fine, huh?" She's fine.
There's also a number of
fine.
trial, but how many people have gotten Bell's palsy as a result of taking this vaccine?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was only like a handful.
But only a handful of people really.
So a handful of people went through a clinical trial, and a handful of those participants.
Was it
got
actual Bell's palsy, or was it some kind of allergic
Yes.
reaction or some shit?
Well,
like that?
yes,
like,
it is an allergic reaction, but
human
the
beings
symptomatic
are,
is
are very
the allergic
We have
the allergic reaction caused palsy, but that's the problem though. Is like, so like, how many people on the panel know 100% for sure that they're allergic to bees or not?
I have bad. I don't have bee. I've been stung by many bees.
Okay,
And when I get,
so
I
you
get stung
know
by them,
you
I
know that you're not
swell up,
allergic,
but I don't die. I
But
swell
no, but
up,
that's
I
my
don't die.
point. You know that you're not allergic to bees because you have been stung by a bee and didn't have an allergic reaction.
But I've never been injected by a coronavirus thing.
But
so I don't know.
I don't want to be the guy that they figure it out on. That's my
exactly. Like I said, like, I have zero problems with vaccines, and like when I was in high school, like the whole meningitis thing was going around.
We'll come back to that. Do your meningitis thing, but we'll come back to that.
The whole thing was going on at the time, and like it wasn't mandatory that people took it, but like I played sports and shared water bottles, which were all the things that were supposed to spread this thing, and it was bad. So I voluntarily went and took that vaccine, and I don't see a problem with that. The problem with this is that, like, this is a thing that hasn't been tested. It's not been proven. You've got a bunch of new things. This is a new way of delivering a, for lack of a better word, vaccine, even though it's not really a vaccine.
Well,
and they've managed to push this out
Gavin,
from like
February
to now. Like, that's not how that works. Like the CDC, if you go to their website, no, American, not Canadian, but they have a large body of work that's been documented about problems that have happened from releasing vaccines early. And ever since that, like every time they do this and something shitty happens to people and people die or get sick or it doesn't work, they add in a new protocol basically so that when things get released to the market for public consumption, you avoid this, which is why it normally takes multiple years for a vaccine to go from like conception of the holy shit, there's this thing going around that we need to be worried about and create a vaccine to this is safe or relatively safe because there's always some small chance, but safe to inject in the population en masse.
Well, see, I mean, that's funny that you say all that because that's exactly how I've been feeling for so long. But I guess like what I said earlier, like I feel like maybe I've been beaten down because like I'm so ready. I'm so ready and willing to like have something to save me and go back to the life that we had before.
And I think that's the thing.
Guys,
like,
I fucking hate this COVID life. I hate it.
I am with you 100%. And if we were like, if it was guaranteed that I could go and get these 2 shots, because it's going to be multiple shots, and then like the chance of me having a negative reaction was stupid low, and life would go back to the way that it was in like the end of last year or the very beginning of this year, yeah, I would be there too. I'd be like, let's go, bud. Like, what's the holdup? Except that, like we've already said,
comment from Chuck here. He said that the number is 1/10 of 1% that got Bell's palsy. So what's 1/10 of 1% of the population? There's 38 million people in this country. Assuming we're going to all get the vaccine because the government bought
that's really
10 times more than they needed to.
Yeah.
Well, what's 1/10 of 1% of 38 million? That's still like 380,000 people.
I'll take that risk. I'll take that risk.
But that's just for Bell's palsy. Who knows what else? Like they've also said, like it's not just like, oh, if you have an allergic reaction
to
this
one city. That's like not even a city. It's like one. It's not even Hamilton.
To be clear, the argument is that we need to shut down the entire country and go through all of this and make it so people like you are in a position where they're tired of this. They don't want to do the mask thing. They want to get the vaccine because a few hundred people in the country died, but it'll be okay if a couple 100,000 people get permanent damage from a vaccine.
Well, I mean, Andrew, when you put it that way, that's fucking ridiculous. But I mean,
that's my point. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, the whole thing is fucking ridiculous. So yes, that's how desperate I am right now. Yes,
but I don't care. The problem.
Sacrifice
400,000
people. Let's go back. This is
bullshit, but if we're gonna do that, how about we just open up the country and have fewer people?
Gavin,
have issues,
I'm 100% on board with that operation. But guess
that's the problem, though. The problem is,
remember the last conversation we had, how scared people are with this virus? Everybody is scared.
But
shitless.
But then you're
that's the
also okay
problem.
with carrying
They're-
papers
they're
around
wi-
to prove that you have a
they
vaccine,
have
right?
no problem. They have like nobody except us had any issue with Toronto Metro Police bringing down the full force of the law on a guy that's trying to serve barbecue because, god damn it, the transfer of coronavirus, right?
But that's the problem, though, right? You're going to have all of those people that were terrified, but now you're getting all the people that are just like, you know what? I don't give a shit if it's going to cause problems. I just want to go back to normal, except we're not going to go back to normal, at least not for a very extended period.
And this is the thing I wanted to sort of segue back into what Gavin was saying before, where he had to take an optional vaccine. The thing that worries me is things like the HPV vaccine, which has been proven to do damage to female reproductive health, but we keep giving it to people so they don't get HPV. And I'm worried about the level of coercion that's involved in that, because it seems to be a thing that people are just being prescribed, like, you should get the HPV vaccine so you don't get the HPV. But hey, in 20 years, you might get cervical cancer in like a significant number of people that receive this vaccine. So
That
that
makes you wonder why they have guys take it then if they're worried about cervical cancer, right?
because men can transmit HPV, they just don't get cervical
Oh,
cancer.
and I'm just saying, like, but that the end worry was cervical cancer, not HPV, right? And
Well,
that's
and
how
that
they
would be
sold it.
my worry is like, which of these things is worse, and like how many people does this affect, and do we have any other vaccines that have been pushed to market this quickly?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't trust the pharmaceutical industry to do this, because
Yeah.
how many billions of dollars have companies like Pfizer and the Sackler family been forced to give people because they've been found to be giving less than effective vaccines, or they've had undesirable side effects? And now the government is passing bills and making protections so that vaccine manufacturers can't be held liable. And the government is putting aside money for anyone who receives the vaccine and is then injured by it.
Well, it makes you wonder why they
Really?
gave blanket immunity to the vaccine producers, then decided to do a compensation board on the government side when they could have just had the guys do proper QC and do their own compensation board like they normally do.
It's a moneymaker. That's the
Yeah.
problem, right? Like,
Yeah.
how many people were like, so against this, that, and everything else, and now they're manufacturing masks. So, just to sidetrack slightly to reinforce my point, there's a company in the Canadian tactical industry that I saw a post from their thing that they came out with a thing and they make masks now, and they fully support President-elect Biden's plan for wearing masks for his first 100 days. Why do you think they're for that? Because they manufacture something. That means people need to buy it from them. And if they get a government contract for the thing. So why do you think that these medical companies are all cool with this and making it mandatory? Like, because they're going to get paid. And because there's a pandemic and all of this other nonsense, they can basically charge through the ass for it. You'll have idiots like Trudeau that buy 10 times the number of doses that they need for people. And if you can be the first guy to come with something to market, you'll be the one that gets the money, whether it works or not.
I don't even know if that's true, to be honest with you. They've tried to acquire so many doses that we have something like 10 times the number of doses ordered versus the number
Yeah.
of population.
Yeah, from various companies. And I mean,
I would not be surprised if there are not language in those contracts that like you're getting paid regardless, delivery or not,
Yeah.
hitting the quota or not, whatever the target, you're getting some amount of government funding
Yeah, but that's
regardless
just
of what you deliver.
probably
Well,
because
supply and
Trudeau's
demand.
terrible at negotiating.
Well,
But
and supply and demand. If everybody wants this thing, of course they can dictate terms. So it's
Yeah.
not like the government's going to be saying, no, we'll only give you the money if you can produce a vaccine that we can use. They're going to be paying no matter what. So
yeah, pay up front. Yeah.
and these things do have an expiry date on no matter how well they're frozen, right? I mean, after 5 years, 2
Yeah.
years, whatever it is, these things are expired, just like bad milk, right? And they have to be tossed. Like the back in 2009, when they had the H1N1 vaccines, they spent $2 billion on, and they ended up tossing most of them in the trash because only 40% of the population. had the
Same when we bought all those Narcan kits and then kept them in like a warehouse for 6 months before we distributed them.
Yeah.
So what about the sorry guys. So what about the oh my god, I completely brain farted.
That's okay. It'll come back to you if it does.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm opposed to the vaccine right now. The way this stands, I don't have any faith in Pfizer because I don't think they're doing this in any kind of altruistic way. I feel like this is strictly being done by profit motive.
Yeah, Cialis has cut into their boner pills money, and they want to make that back by coming
And
out.
I don't
with-
just mean like I don't just have a hate on for Pfizer and the Sackler family,
No.
although I mean I do, but like not at the exclusion of other pharmaceutical
no,
companies
they're
because that's how we do
all in it
medicine
to
in this
make a buck
country.
because that's
Sorry, that was the
That's
question
what
I
it
was
is.
going to ask. Like, you guys, I heard you guys say that Pfizer has had lawsuits in regards to other vaccines.
Every company
Billions
has.
of dollars of fraudulent claims and mismarketing and negative impacts to consumers. Pfizer, I
Really?
think specifically in the US, has something like, I believe the number, I think I've got the right number of zeros. I believe the number is that they've been ordered to pay $2.3 billion in fines and restitutions. And I believe that is specifically for Pfizer and specifically in the US.
Wow, because I heard nothing about that stuff.
Well, you're not gonna.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's the
like,
thing is why would you?
And I heard like I thought Pfizer was supposed to be like one of the better vaccines.
sure, but
has
like
the higher-
any time you come out with something like so, when you look at any medication, doesn't matter what it is, and you go through and like, there's always going to be a warning of side effects, and a lot of the time those side effects are the thing that you're trying to get rid of or worse. But like that's
Well-
just how that works sometimes. Is that like for the vast majority of the population, it'll work this way, but there'll be those handful of people whose body chemistry is slightly different and things interact in a different way, or they're taking something else.
Or
same
I have
time-
I have an example that I'm very uncomfortable with because you can't do clinical testing on pregnant women because it is not ethical.
Yeah.
So what happens if you're a pregnant person or a person trying to
Jesus.
become pregnant and you take this and you have some sort of an adverse reaction because there is no way to ethically test that before going to market with this product because you don't run drug trials on pregnant women.
Yep.
What are the downstream effects of that? Also, in Pfizer's own literature, it says that if you're a dude and you're trying to get your lady friend pregnant, your cisgendered heteronormative partner of the female origin pregnant, that you should abstain from sex for at least 28 days after receiving your doses of vaccine as a male recipient.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
That and the problem with this particular vaccine and the way that it works, so the genetic stuff gets passed down through the generation.
Could be passed down. We don't.
Yeah. Well, we don't know because
They
we
didn't do
haven't
the
been able to
testing.
test that. Because we haven't given it to anybody and have them have kids and then be able, but potentially whatever they put in this thing can be passed down genetically to your offspring, which may or may not have an impact on it.
That's terrible.
I mean, potentially, it could be terrible. We don't know
Okay.
because
Well, I mean, that's like the fact that. So basically, you're rolling the dice. Then you're like, oh,
Well, I
I'll
think
take this-
that's my whole
I'll take
point with
this
this whole
vaccine,
vaccine.
but
is like-
I guess we're all going to be guinea pigs, right? Just,
Exactly. And
And
like
I-
anytime you take something like this, you're rolling the dice, but it's all about playing the odds. There's a difference between like a 1 in 10 billion chance of like, I don't know, you have permanent
you
dry
take
mouth.
the-
Like, you
you
know,
take
like
a super common vaccine that everybody has, like measles, mumps, and rubella, right? Everybody has their MMR vaccination for the last whatever 40 or
Yeah.
50 years, right? And
or
occasionally,
tetanus is a vaccine, right?
you can get a shot for tetanus. I don't think you can get a vaccination to
it's not a
prevent it.
Because
vaccine,
tetanus
but
is
it's
not
like
a vaccine. Sorry,
Well,
guys.
I'm-
my
yeah,
bad.
no,
Okay, I'm using measles, mumps, and rubella as a common one because it's a very well documented.
yeah, like
well understood-
everybody gets that when they're young.
everybody gets MMR, and everybody's gotten MMR for a long time. Like I think it's like 50 years.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you can get the MMR vaccine and have an adverse reaction. It happens in an exceptionally
Yeah.
small amount of the recipients. And this is a thing that like is almost universally applied, right? Like almost everybody, with some exceptions, almost everybody gets MMR in North America.
Really?
A very small number of people have an adverse reaction to that. And it's very well documented, it's very well understood what to do, and it's usually not awful. And the reactions are usually significantly less than if you were to get measles, mumps, or rubella, because those are all terrible, debilitating diseases, right? Same thing like with the polio diphtheria vaccines. Polio is really, really awful. Some people get the polio vaccine. Again, this is a vaccine that we've been giving people for like something like 80, 70 years, 80 years.
A very long time.
Giving polio vaccines. And in a very, very small number of people that receive it, mostly infants, because that's when we get the vaccine, they get an adverse reaction. And usually something can be done about it. And it doesn't become a debilitating disease where they don't say walk for the rest of their life, like if they contracted polio. I'm cool with all that.
Yeah.
My kid's got his shots. I got my shots. Like, I'm cool with all that.
Yeah.
This vaccine scares me because we've never done mass distribution of mRNA vaccines. We haven't done any sort of long-term studies on this. They haven't even figured out what the correct temperature to store this stuff is, because it has to be kept. So the Pfizer vaccine specifically has to be kept at like minus 70 degrees Celsius. We don't know what happens if we store it at a higher temperature than that right now, because it hasn't been available long enough for them to try it at higher temperatures to see how long it takes for the material in the vaccine to break down.
It's just like, I don't think anyone on this panel is against the vaccines. It's just against rushing this particular one. Yes, but in general, it's the time frame on which this is done. I also think that like anything that people do should be voluntary, not mandatory, because that's
Well, it's not mandatory yet.
But it will be.
But yeah,
if they're going to tell you that you can't go to work or that you can't travel,
they've already come out and said they're not going to let you travel or do a lot of stuff. Enter an airplane, enter another country without your vaccination papers, please. So if you don't think it's going to be mandatory, I think you're in Delusionville.
Well, we can still live in our country without taking it, though.
Well, can you travel to Vancouver without it? No.
That'll be the thing that I want to see is what.
You can. You can.
What the restrictions will be.
Have you driven that?
I have actually.
But that's the thing, though. Like okay. As of right now, they might say, yeah, you won't be able to get on an airplane, but yeah, if you want to drive out there, you can. But like, are you going to be able to get employment? Are you going to be able to enter a hospital? Are you going to be able to take public transit?
That's the thing I want to see. In the government, as far as I've seen, there has not been anything by any provincial government that actually says what the restrictions will be. And I think that's going to be a long time coming. The other part of this,
guys, you want to know what I think the next big fad is going to be in 2021?
I'm really hoping it's armbands.
Fake documents for your coronavirus vaccination.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, Ontario's already said that they're going to want to have passports.
They're going to be all over the place.
You're going to need your corona passport when you go get your corona test. Or
so what we'll do is we'll get like large coronavirus, like not microscopic level, but we'll get like a cartoon, like a 4-inch cartoon looking coronavirus that you can like pin to your shirt. Or has that been done before? I feel like I'm getting that from somewhere.
Yeah.
You can do it as an armband. Armbands are very stylish. Like the Grateful Dead had those.
Red with a white circle.
I like it. That's perfect.
Black corona.
Well, that's the doctors that inject it so that you know that they have the training. It's the people that have got the injection. They get that, but it's going to be like in yellow probably.
Or you can just have a registration number for your vaccine on your arm.
Yeah.
What's next?
I'm curious to see what they end up doing with this. And I'm also curious about the distribution plan, because assuming they can make this stuff in any sort of large quantity, it's going to take a while for production to ramp up. Then we have to get the vaccines from wherever they're coming from, because we have basically no domestic pharmaceutical manufacturing. I mean, okay, there's some, but like effectively we have no domestic pharmaceutical manufacturing. So we have to get the stuff. It has to get here. Then we have to transport it. Assuming we have to keep it at like the Pfizer vaccine has to be at minus 70 degrees, or the Moderna vaccine has to be kept at minus 20. Okay, minus 20 is a pretty good freezer. Is it going to
come over here on a plane or like on a boat?
I assume it's coming from China because they make most of the pharmaceuticals.
If it's on a boat, is it going to be the same as like the tuna guys when you watch that show on Discovery?
Probably. You'll have
fill it with ice.
The Atlantic crab here, the Pfizer vaccine here.
Yeah, exactly.
And
this is for the Canadians. It's okay.
And then giant tuna for Japan on this side. But yeah, like it's and are we going to get like all 50,000 billion trillion doses all at once, or are they going to like
give us
1,000 at a time, right? Like
one boat at a time.
I was trying to figure out as a thought exercise the other day when I was out for my walk, how you would like, how could you, because I deal with distribution and logistics as a profession, right? Like that's my day job. So I was like, well, as like a thought exercise, how do they do the flu vaccine? Because that's like a common thing. We do it every year. It's cyclical. Like we're pretty good at the flu vaccine. So I was like, okay, so like probably like half of Canadians, based on like my anecdotal talking to people, like probably half of the people I know get the flu vaccine, right?
Where's that come from, Andrew? Is that Canadian or is that come in?
I don't know. But I was thinking about the distribution part of it, not the manufacturing side. It was like we start doing the flu vaccine in like September, October, like early in the fall, and the flu vaccine ends in the new year or when they run out. And basically every doctor's office and pharmacy can give out the flu vaccine. So we do that for like 3-ish months.
At Shoppers Drug Mart, they've taught the people to just like inject you on the floor of the store now.
Well, that's what I mean. Like any pharmacy, a Shoppers or a Rexall or a what have you. So it takes 3 or 4 months to give flu vaccines to say half the population. Yeah. And with this, everybody needs 2 shots and they need to be done within 3 months because of the way that the gestation is not the right word. Again, virology is not my thing. I deal with computer stuff. But if they have to do the 2 vaccines and it's 3 months, how do we do everybody in a shorter span of time twice? When we do the flu vaccine, which is the thing that we do every year, we have 3 months to do it and we do maybe half the population.
Yeah.
Also, how do we deal with all the remote communities where we don't have like minus 70 degree, like crazy cold storage facilities?
Well, and I mean, the North, they'll just keep it outside.
Minus 70.
Right next to their 6-pack,
Even for Northern Canada, that's pretty cool.
Your 6-pack's going to be frozen at that point, but...
Yeah,
no, you're drinking
your Tauntaun won't make it past the first marker.
There's a lot of...
You're going to need some moonshine.
Well, that, and I mean, how many doses are they going to be able? I mean, I guess obviously we'll have more than enough because we've got 10 times, but how many of those are going to go to waste because of expiration or poor handling?
Or handling, and that's my concern. So, like, if it's on a truck and it's on a loading dock for too long, or like reading some of the Pfizer documentation, they're going to ship them in effectively ice packs. Like they're a container with dry ice in them.
Yeah.
They're going to ship them in those, but the containers can only be open for 60 seconds per day. So they can take out like the doses they're going to use and immediately inject them in people. And then they have to close the container again. Like,
but if they take out one too many or not enough, and like, as somebody who also deals with logistics, like I ship pallets of stuff from A to B using one carrier and they fuck it up. And that's like me shipping like a pallet or like a full truckload even, or half truckload from one of my locations to another one of my locations. And that still gets messed up.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't
that's not complicated. This is way more complicated. Like
there's a lot of moving parts with this. And I don't see how, because don't attribute to malice what you can attribute to negligence. And I think the government is horribly negligent. And that's on average.
It's like they're not going to set up their own infrastructure for this. It's going to piggyback on the infrastructure that already exists to move things from A to B. So on top of whatever they're doing now and making mistakes with, they're now going to have X amount more work on top of it to get this out, which means that more mistakes may happen or it's going to take longer and everything else. And like everyone's using the corona thing as an excuse to slow down everything because nobody's working.
Which goes to show how smart they are, because that shows you why they over-ordered the vaccine numbers.
Yeah. So until everyone's vaccinated, nobody's back to work. Do
you think they over-ordered the vaccine to ship it out to the countries that they're spending all this money on?
No. This was just procurement hedging their bets against who was going to make a vaccine, get it to market, and be able to distribute
I don't doubt
because I heard
some of this is to go for a run at a UN seat again, where he's going to we'll use whatever we need, and then anything
and then give
left
the rest away. Sure.
Yeah.
But I think the priority.
There was a report that came out today that Trudeau introduced a news, like he was spending like $480 billion or something on other countries in regards to.
Yeah, but that's no different than any
coronavirus.
other day.
Yeah, I mean, we just call that a Monday normally.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, I mean, for every $8 of $10 spent on the coronavirus, it's the federal government because they took on the debt so that we wouldn't have to.
Yeah, exactly. And then like we're paying $1.70 for gas in a couple of years.
Yeah, they got to pay that back somehow, or just
Yeah.
fleece us for more money.
Yeah, it'd be fleecing us for more money.
I got it.
I don't know if I do, but it's very depressing.
Well,
Well,
I
my
don't know
theory
if I
would-
accept it. I don't know
When
if
he
I
or-
accept it, but I got it.
Well, when he over-ordered the vaccines to the tune of 414 million doses, I think it's because he's probably getting a bit of a kickback to the Trudeau Foundation or something. But
Yeah.
I did put
Well,
an
with the
article.
We Charity kind of folding, he's got to find somewhere else to go
Who
get
else
some
do
money.
you think he's going to get to distribute the vaccine? We Charity.
Yeah,
They're
they're
the only ones
they're the
capable.
only ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so I put an article in there at the end about the vaccines. Yeah, so he'd ordered 414 million doses over the course of all of his orders. It listed out all the orders on the Global News article.
Or do you think he was just like drunk and buying shit on Amazon?
I think it might have been that, but he's also, like Andrew said, he was good at hedging his bets because he didn't know who was going to get it out first. But I think no matter what, he's going to pay for it. But I did some napkin math just before the show there, and on one
Which
article,
is the most accurate math ever.
yeah, absolutely. But so the conversation.com, which I didn't really like that website that much anyway, but they came out and said, well, based on the 150 million doses that he first bought, he spent X amount. So I just did some thing, and it's roughly 3 billion as a minimum is what he's going to spend on these vaccines. However, the CBC, which as we know is the pillar of news nowadays, and just a bastion of knowledge and information. So they actually came out and said that Trudeau is paying basically $60 per dose, which is the market rate. And based on the 414 million doses, if he's on the hook for all of them, the worst case could be $24 billion bill for vaccines that will expire.
Oh, whatever.
Wow.
We're already $1 trillion in debt. So
Yeah, I mean, what's 24 billion among friends, right?
yeah. Although, just a quick an aside for napkin math. The whole Apollo 13 thing. So when I was in university, my resident Don, the guy that did the math for that was like his uncle or something like that. And apparently, like, they got a hold of him and he was like at the bar with like one of his TAs, and they literally worked out the math to fix that whole thing on a bar napkin. And they didn't even realize that it was like a real thing. They thought it was like either theoretical or they had like 50 other people working on it. But no, he was literally the only person they contacted.
Wow. The power of the napkin. Hopefully
Yeah.
he had a fine ballpoint pen versus the media.
Yeah. Well, imagine if like he still had that napkin, how much money it would be worth.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't ever underestimate the power of a bar napkin or going out for cocktails with people. Very important.
Which will never happen again anytime soon, but you know.
Yeah.
as
You have
soon
to hide-
as soon as this started and they said this is going to be the new normal, I don't see us getting out of this anytime soon. Like Andrew said, if the vaccine doesn't actually change anything about our normal behavior, except for now we're only allowing a special few to go to certain events or places, nothing's changed.
I don't know. Maybe this is this is not really a critical look at the government, but I mean, do you guys miss going to theaters or stuff? I don't.
I don't, but
Theaters, no, but
you know what pisses me off is like
concerts.
the fact that I have to wear a mask. If I walk in somewhere, I have like some 16-year-old kid asking me, like,
I miss being able to walk into the bar.
Out of the country, buddy? Have you been out of the country and do you have these symptoms?
I'm like, kid, get out of my way.
Hey,
I need
If
to
that's
buy
all it was,
groceries."
if they just asked me those things and then I could go about my business normally, I'd be fine with
no,
that.
it's
But,
fucking
like,
ridiculous.
I
The whole
miss
thing
being
is
able
ridiculous.
to just like go, oh hey guys, yeah, that was a great match. Let's go grab beer and wings, and being able to just walk into the
Okay.
bar without a reservation and all being able to sit at the same table and
Exactly.
not have to put on a stupid mask to go take a leak or wash my hands.
Maybe if I put it like this, it might. What pisses me off is that I know I'll never go back to the Sky Dome, which it is the fucking Sky Dome,
Yeah.
and
The
order a
Rogers Center
beer
Dome.
from a guy walking. Do you remember those beer dudes? They'd
Yeah.
walk down the right, and you'd be sitting kind of in the middle of the aisle, and they'd hand the beer to the first person, and they literally would
Yeah, and I
hand
would
the
just
beer
chain
to
it its way
everybody
over,
to you.
and then the
Then
money
you'd
would go
hand-
that way. Yeah.
Exactly, and you'd hand your cash money to them, and they'd hand it all the way back down, and then you'd get change too, and like tip the guy at the same time.
Yeah. No.
Well,
Can't do
now
that.
they're going to go cashless.
I'm still sitting
Yeah.
here. I'm still alive. I'm alive. I did it. I was there. It happened, and I'm still here right now.
That's crazy, Brian. To think
I
there was a
know.
world like that one day.
Right?
There was a
Like,
time when
holy
we
fuck.
actually used to blow on birthday cakes too.
No
Disgusting.
shit.
And shake hands.
Yeah.
My daughter, we just had a birthday. I got undisclosed location. I had a birthday for her. She blew on her birthday cake
How dare you?
with her friends and family. So suck
We're
that.
we're
JT.
we're in a gray zone. That's
Yeah,
the other
fuck
thing
your
that
gray
drives
zone.
me
I don't
nuts
fucking
about this
care.
whole thing. Is like everybody has their own like system, and everything is different, and the rules are different everywhere you go. There's no consistency. So this area is in red, but you can do this. This area is also in red, but you can't do that. Where I am is in gray, which doesn't exist anywhere else in the province.
And that's,
And
I
that's
laughed
what-
when somebody said they were level 2 restrictions of like, what's the scale? And is 2 on the good side or the bad side? Or how does it work? Because my area is different. We use like danger zone or whatever Kenny logins they want to use. But I mean, like,
danger zone.
Welcome to the danger zone.
Highway through the
And
corona
like,
zone.
do you know what level you're in based on the volume of the song, or how
Exactly.
far into the song they get?
or how much hair
All right,
gel you have
guys.
to use, whatever.
Yeah.
I had to change. I'm changing up my beer. Now I'm on the Carling. Has anybody ever rocked
Yeah.
the Carling before?
I've had a few of those in my day.
They're not really good, but they were on sale at the beer store for like $1.90.
Well,
All
that
right.
that sounds
Great
like a good
endorsement.
enough reason to get out of here as any. We're talking about discount beer. Reminder
Yeah.
for book club December. We're doing Fahrenheit 451. I think there is drinking in that book, but not beer.
Definitely not Carlings.
No, definitely not Carling.
No.
If you're buying on Amazon, either the Fahrenheit 451, if you're getting that on Amazon or Audible or one of the Amazon things, or if you're getting your official Big Luau shirt, of which many were in attendance at this weekend's shooting match.
Yeah.
If you're using our Amazon affiliate link or going to bigluau.biz and then redirecting to Amazon, we get a portion of those sales. It's a little commission, which I appreciate. Let's go around the panel here. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me on the Instagram, UrbexGTA, all one word.
All right, Benny, where can everybody find you?
Bennyloose.ca. We're out of our cam 9mm loaders. There are on back order. So as soon as we get those in, we'll be shipping them out.
But that's okay, because
All right.
Benny has other products that you can go to his website to purchase as well.
This is
Not
true.
just loaders. Not just loaders.
This is true.
All right, Ian, where can everybody find you?
You can reach me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can also find me on Sunday evenings on iTunes, or sorry, on YouTube and Facebook, doing Canadian Prepper Podcast live at 9 p.m. Eastern.
All right. And Brian, where can they buy Carling one more time?
The beer is on sale right now at Dundas. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me at Brian Cornell Facebook if you want to.
Until he gets sucked. Yeah.
Until I get sucked, which will probably be soon for associating with you guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry
it
about
doesn't
that.
bother me. You can't associate with me on the internet. I've been banned.
Yeah.
Everybody press F to pay respects for Andrew's.
Yeah,
Facebook
I might
account.
give. I might give the Facebook one more kick at the can. We'll see. We value your opinions. Please send us your feedback. Feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. I will read on the show, even if it is a thinly veiled ad read for your book that I'm not going to purchase.
Yeah, for less than thinly veiled ones, there will be a service fee for that.
I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. Rod's standing in line to get his vaccine. He's supposed to be on the show as soon as he recovers.
Or turns.
Rob
For
the
all of our
zombie.
listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North,
True North.
strong and highly vaccinated.
Free.